Right, what's happening, fellas? Welcome back. Day 5. This one is all about your solid financial plan. Really going to build on the numbers we've worked on this week. And honestly, look, before I kick in, these numbers are just like the lifeblood of your business. Some of you find it a little bit harder to get hold of your numbers. Others of you, you take to it a little bit easier. But it is so important to do. And you've only got to learn this once and put them into practice once. And you can never unlearn them. And you'll carry this with you all the way through this business, but even maybe another business that you do later on, or whatever you get yourselves into as the opportunities come up, as you become really good business people. So it's a solid, best foundation. Now, I really want to get crystal clear today, because a business without a plan, is planning to fail. And that's exactly the opposite of what we want. Trying to get to a point of 10k net profit per month and beyond requires a proper plan, the reality, and just facts and figures on a bit of paper and how you're actually going to achieve it. And that's where we're going to get to. So far into the program, we have covered day 1, the 10k maths, which we're going to expand on a bit today. So you know what your expenses are and you know what gross profit you need to earn per month. Then on day 2, we looked at pricing for profit with a 3-bucket method. And then you've got a clear gross profit margin put on top of those jobs. So you know what the jobs are exactly costing you, materials and labour, you know what the cost is, and you've got a clear defined profit margin added on top. Day 3, we're then talking all about how to track jobs to protect that gross profit margin, because equally, again, it's pointless pricing a job with a load of profit on it, but then you're running it like a sack of shit, or you've underestimated something, or something's gone wrong, and you've lost the profit from pricing stage to actually delivery stage. We don't want that to happen. And then day 4, obviously all the extras and variations are treated like a mini job and an opportunity to earn more. So same thing, what does it cost? Add a profit margin on and off you go. Now the key points I want to point out today are that all materials and labour are paid from the jobs, and it's what's called a cost of sale. That's what an accountant would call it, a cost of sale, which means that anything to do with the job is being paid for by the specific job. So I just want to clear that up, because some people get a bit confused about this sometimes. So all materials and labour are paid for from the jobs. That's including you if you're on the tools and you've costed yourself to the specific jobs that you're pricing. And then your expenses or overheads, whatever way you want to look at them, your fixed costs monthly to a business, they're paid from the gross profits that you've put on the jobs. So that then gives you your net profit. So gross profit, and then you've got your net profit after all of your expenses. So we'll go back to this today so it's nice and clear. And you do not add any overheads onto the cost of the job, because a lot of people do this. They try and work out their overheads per job, but it doesn't work. The numbers get skewed, because if you've got no jobs on, you've still got to pay your overheads. So you need to know that figure. But equally, if you're adding a bit on for overheads and 1 month you win 10 jobs, your numbers are just going to be fucked and all over the place. So we're doing this in the right order from the get-go. I just wanted to make that very clear before we carry on. Now look, just in red there that I've just highlighted again, is that look, once you master pricing work with a clear gross profit margin on, you need to focus then just purely on your sales revenue figure per month to hit that 10k net. And that's why we've done this in this way, so that we've got all our ducks in a row, okay? Because that's ultimately the target and the program. What we're trying to get to is 10k net. So we know the difference between our gross and our net, and then that's the goal that we've got. So let's just look back at the calculator that we started on Monday. And obviously your figures are going to be exact to you now, because you would have filled this out, or you fucking should have done. And you know, right, your fixed costs, your expenses every single month. And on this example, it's £3,791. We know, let's move my face, the target of net profitability is £10,000 net profit. And combined, we need to earn £13,791 of gross profit added onto the jobs the way we're pricing. Now let's just go over this and make this super clear. Let's say we are working to 25% margin, and again, you're going to know this yourself. You're going to know what margin you're going to be pricing jobs at going forward. Let's say it's 25%. I just want to make this very clear again, that in order to achieve the £13,791 of profit that we want, gross profit, if we're working to 25%, it would be a sales value of 55,164, because at the 25% margin, there is £13,791 of gross profit within that price because the work's been priced correctly. So I hope that makes sense and it's perfectly clear. So you've got a figure that you know you need to win that amount of work every single month. You need to deliver that amount of work every single month. And you need to invoice that amount of work every single month. And if you do that, if you focus on that sales revenue figure, because we've worked backwards, that would equate to the 13,791 that we're showing on this example. And obviously it'll be different to you. The numbers will be slightly different depending on what your expenses are, what margin you're charging, which will then dictate how much work you need to sell, invoice and deliver every single month. Okay, hope that's very clear. So let's go back. And really now for you guys, we've got to be perfectly clear today and going forward. Number one, what gross profit margin are you going to operate at as a business? Because you are a business, and I know that some of you are, it's still just you, or it's just you and a couple of guys. You have to know this figure. It needs to be burnt into your head, tattoo it on the back of your ass or something, so you never ever lose sight of your margin. Your profit margin is your vital signs. It's like having your blood pressure checked. You know, you need to agree that going forward and go, right, every time we price a job now, we're pricing at this margin because you know it's right, you know it's realistic, you've priced the jobs correctly, and you've got a clear margin on, and you've got to commit to it. And if clients don't want to pay that price, then you don't do the job. And the only caveat to that is if you need the work, you're desperate for it, you might have to lower your margin at times because you are desperate, and you've got to go through a transition period of building the margin up. But you've got to be set and dead and go, right, we want to be operating as a company at 20%, 25, 30, 35, whatever it is, and whatever it is that you do. And obviously I spoke about this when we looked at margin on pricing. You should know for absolute certainty, this is what we price work at. So on this example, 25%, so I need you to know that number for yourself. And the sales revenue target from the sheet that we've got here, at 25% to earn that amount of gross profit, the 13,791, we know we need to have a sales revenue of £55,164. Okay, so that is our figure, excluding VAT, that we need to work to as a business. Then what comes into play here is the rule of three. And what this basically means is your quote and conversion rate. And typically, the industry, on a whole, of a good level, is 30% win rate. So you're going to win 1 out of every 3 quotes. If you're winning every single quote you do, you're too cheap, which could be part of the problem why you may be here in the program, because you're not quite earning the profits. If you're not winning any of the work, you've got major problems around possibly pricing, overpricing, but probably sales, marketing, and other areas that we're going to get to in the program. But if we work on the 30% rule, you're always going to be in a safe spot to be in as a business, okay? And let me explain. So this will give you the right expectations of reality, because you will not win every job, and you don't want to. You don't want to win every job. You know, if you're winning every job, something is massively wrong. You're just too cheap. And you just can't lose operating and coming from a mindset of running your business that this is the worst case scenario. Worst case, you win 1 out of every 3 quotes. You know, that's as bad as it really should get, as we're doing everything right that we're going to do through the program. If you go into it with that mindset, if you win more than 30%, you're up. But we're basing our numbers, and we're equally going to start basing these numbers on how many quotes you need to do a month, how many leads do you need a month to hit the targets, and how many people do you need to deliver it. We're going to go all into that. We're going to get all of that solved. But if we go into it and finish up today of this week, of week 1 of knowing, right, let's base our numbers on we're going to win 30% of the jobs we quote. And then you're built to succeed. You are building a company that's going to succeed. You're not setting yourself up and being owned by the 1 or 2 leads that come in and you think, I need to win this job, we need to win this job. We want to flip the script and go, right, let's get enough leads coming in. Let's base it on winning 30% of them. And then you can actually start winning the work that you want to win and being a bit more selective about the work you want to win. And equally, if you start winning more than 30%, you know you can just add and increase your margin, so you're just adding profitability onto the company. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And remember, look, quotes turn into jobs. Jobs turn into the profit. So what you need to do as the owner is focus on quoting. Quoting is your money maker. Even the quotes that you don't win, the next one that you do win is all part of the game. So don't look at, because I think a lot of people look at doing quotes as, oh, wait, I stayed up late last night, or I stayed up, it took me hours 2 weeks ago to price the job and I didn't win it. That is part of the game. That is just part of running the business, and this is what you need to get used to, that whenever you're pricing work, you're making money. You are making money when you quote. So focus on the quoting side as the business, and it will look after you all the way down because you're doing the right things in the right way. So now we know what we're working with. We know that we're going to be looking at winning 1 out of every 3 jobs that we quote. We're now going to have a point today of knowing, right, what is our quoting target per month? And this is the next KPI of the business, and we will develop KPIs as we go through. So you've got a checklist basically of going, right, if we make all this happen, the 10k net will happen, and that's where I want you to really be. So we know if it's 55,164 of work that we need to win every single month, based on the example I've set up with the sheet that we've gone through today, if we times that by 3, that means we're going to need to quote 165 grand worth of work every single month. Now, don't shit your pants just yet. That might sound like a bigger figure, but it's not. There's a lot of work out there. There's a lot to go out, and we're going to have to break this down and actually work out how do we do this. But these are the maths that, this is the reality. This is the reality. And if you're not pricing this much at this level to get that sort of work that you want, this is the problem. This is the root cause of not having enough profit in the business and not having a business where you want it to be. So again, if we just go at it with this expectation and go, right, that you as the owner, you want to be going, how much have we quoted this month? Because if we look at that top figure, providing you're doing everything right that I'm showing you in the program, the bottom will work out. And we just reverse engineering it. And this is what I used to do in the business, is that my main focus was purely on what work we're pricing, how much we won, or what margins we're winning at. And to give you an overview, in our peak, we were pricing £3 million worth of work every single month to try and win $1 million every single month. So I know the pressure that comes with, you've got to price work, and look, we'll get there and we'll build this out. Obviously, these numbers are going to be all completely different to you and your individual business and your expenses and the margins you're charging. But we need to know this figure, so you've got a view as the owner of going, right, how much have we actually priced this month? Okay, hope that is clear. So your action steps for today is basically burn those first 3 KPIs that we've now talked about, the key performance indicators, into your brain, or like I say, tattoo them on your ass if you need to. Number 1 is your gross margin you're operating to. Non-negotiable, this stuff. This is non-negotiable. Every percentage point makes a massive difference. You know, you can't fuck around with your margin whatsoever. You've got to know the gross margin you're going to go with going forward. Number 2, you need to know your sales revenue target and have that number locked in. And then number 3, you need to know your quoting target, because we've timed that sales revenue by 3, and we've got that number now, and we know what we're working to, and we know what we've got to fucking basically make happen. And then number 2, look, don't move on until you have this locked in. If I can just get you guys fixed to these numbers and go, right, how am I going to make this work? And obviously I'm going to help you do that through the program. But if I can just get your brain thinking like that now and go, right, how am I going to be able to quote the 165 grand a month, or the 120 grand a month, or the 100 grand a month, whatever it is, whatever the figure is for you, need you to start thinking like that and going, right, we need to quote a lot more work. And that's going to equal the result that we want to get to. Don't worry about the how just yet. And then number 3, revisit what we've gone through this week if you need to, because repetition is the master of learning tool. And this is the hardest bit. This part of the program is the hardest stuff. Like, if we get this cleared first, everything else is just a bit of a game. And I just want you to be really, really clued up and clear and switched on to all of these numbers. And next week, as we go into this, we'll start developing more KPIs in terms of leads, clients, marketing, how we're going to get them. And then it will turn into the delivery, the team, and everything else as we build it. And that's the way you've got to look at this industry. Unfortunately, you can't have loads of clients and labour sitting around waiting for you. You've got to do the work first, and you've got to win the work to then worry about delivering it. So we're following that same suit. You know, if you employ 10 people today and then you haven't got the work, they're going to last 2 days and go and get work elsewhere. Or you're going to go bankrupt trying to pay people you haven't got. So we've got to win the work, set you up for success, and go, right, how are we going to win all this work? What work do we want? What work are we going to need? And then we go delivery, team, and doing all the other shit that comes with that to make it all happen. So that is it for today, guys. I hope you've really enjoyed and learned a good few things from the first 5 days. It's been the most complicated, like I say, but we're now set up to go and really carry on and kick in next week when we start day 6. And that's it for today. So I'll see you on the next one.